to return to the founders' principles, and I hope you take it. And we're going to be, the day that we join the rest of the English-speaking world and rid ourselves of this European incubus, that'll be the day. Please don't screw it up for us. Hang in there. Wait for us until we get there.
All right, we're talking with Daniel Hannan. Believe it or not, an American rock star, even though he's as they say in some of our southern states, a Britisher. But that's actually one of my first questions for you. Did you ever think growing up that you were going to be a rock star in America?
I'm not sure about rock star. It's very flattering, but I think that's...
well, certainly among the conservatives.
You're being far too generous, although I appreciate it. Growing up, I always had, as a lot of British people do, a sense of connection to here. I had an uncle and I have cousins here, and I spent time here as a boy. No British person is completely disinterested when it comes to the prosperity and success of the US. You're not just another country. You are a particularly close and old friend, and we've been through a lot of things together.
Yes, indeed. Well, and speaking of that friendship, however, we have a president today that seems to like to stick pins in that little doll, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, this is something we haven't known before. This is something we haven't had since at least the end of the 19th century. A whole bunch of things. I mean, the Churchill bust, the invention of this company called British Petroleum after the oil spill. I mean, there's been no such company for over a decade. It's since the merger with Amoco, which gave it as many American as British shareholders. The failure to acknowledge our presence in Afghanistan, worse than any of those things, the lining up with Argentina in pushing joint sovereignty on the Falkland Islands. I mean, this is, for the first time, this is a administration with whom I don't think we feel we have any connection at all. It's not a good time to be a traditional US ally. And,
right.
The Poles or the Czechs or the Indians or Israelis will tell you the same thing. But I like to think that the relationship between our countries doesn't rest on the relations between their leaders.
Certainly.
It's based on something much deeper and more enduring than that.
Certainly, and I would think you're right there. I alluded a second ago to your rock star status here among conservatives in America because of that one great speech that you railed against the socialist tendencies, the non-democratic tendencies of the EU.
Yeah, well, they haven't improved at all since that speech. I mean, any hope of reforming the EU from within has gone now. And I think most people in Britain realise that David Cameron gave it his best shot at the last summit, and it's been there, tried it, did our best. It's not in our gift to turn the EU into something that is not. What is in our gift is to decide what kind of relationship we're going to have with it. And I'm confident that if there were a free vote tomorrow, if there were a referendum tomorrow, people would vote to leave the European Union and rejoin the community of free English-speaking democracies from which we were artificially wrenched in 1973.
Well, one of the questions I have about Britain, if I'm not mistaken, Margaret Thatcher once said something to the effect that she could not get all done that she wanted to because of the British healthcare, the basic socialist values in the British healthcare system. Is there any way at all to wrench Britain out of that dependency on government?
People become very protective and conservative about things that are familiar. So although on most outcomes our healthcare system is poor, I mean it's not the worst in the world, but it languishes in most leagues of developed. I mean, we've got a better health system than Paraguay or Guam, or but we're well behind Spain, Slovenia, countries like this. It becomes almost impossible once you have got that large an interest based around the established dispensation to propose radical change. It's what Milton Friedman called the tyranny of the status quo, and it's an incredibly powerful force.
Right. Well, thank you very much for giving us a few minutes here, Daniel Hannan. And please give me your full title. It's rather august, as many EU titles are, and I can never remember all the words all in a row. So let's hear that title.
A member of the European Parliament.
Okay,
Daniel is
good. Excellent. Thanks very much for giving us time here at CPAC.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.